This video is your guide to rediscovering the beauty of authentic interactions through heartwarming stories, the advice of these fantastic gentlemen, and definitely the advice that we're going to get from the chats and actionable tips. We'll explore how to break through barriers, foster understanding, and create moments that leave a lasting impact. Moreover, for those passionate about diving even deeper into the world of genuine relationships and meaningful experiences, we invite you to our exclusive membership program filled with workshops, resources, and expert led sessions. Plus, step into the community, a space where like minded individuals come together and share, learn, and elevate each other on their journey towards authentic connections. So, if you're ready to shift from fleeting to feeling, from mundane to memorable, this video holds the answers. Go ahead, don't forget again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share it with someone that you know, love, and care about. Now, that said, did you know various studies have highlighted the rising issue of social isolation and loneliness in today's society? A study by Cigna in 2020, for example, found that loneliness was prevalent among adults in the United States, with many reporting feeling isolated. Secondly, surveys and research have shown that people value authenticity in their relationships and interactions. They seek honesty and genuine connections rather than superficial encounters. So, gentlemen, I want to start you off with the first question of the night. And that question is, survey, please. What drives a widespread desire for deeper connections?
I
Ooh, I think. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, bro. Um, no, my apology. So for me, when I think about it, right, widespread or not, when we talk about the desire for a deeper connections today, I think it's just our innate humanity, right? It's just a part of our makeup, I believe, to want to connect, right? Now we might have different opinions based upon upbringings or experience of how those connections ought to look, right? But I think we all long for deeper connections, whether it's a brotherhood, a sisterhood, intimate relationship, family bonds. But I think internally we are all wired to want to connect to one another or to like-minded people.
I can I would piggyback off that. I agree with that. I think that when we come into this world, one of the first things that we're done is we're placed in someone's arms, and for a large portion of the first few days and weeks and months, we are cuddled up with someone else. And I think that along with that, we naturally are social creatures. We're social beings. We want to be around other people naturally. So I think that, with the rise of, I'm just going to say, the internet and social media and how the world has become a lot more open, I think that because things are more open and we can reach out and touch so many different people, we are missing what we are to our core, and we are looking for that. you know I think that, for me, I'm still looking for that. I have that. I have a lot of deep connections with people, but for me, it's like dopamine. In a sense, it's like I want more of it. Like, I look forward to coming here on Friday. Like, me and Coach had a great conversation this week. I had a great conversation with Dr. Easley today, and I had a great conversation with Eric Johnson and Tellers and Dre. You know what I mean? I hung out with my boy this morning and ate breakfast. Like, I love interacting with people who are like-minded, and I think that we all want to be liked in a sense. So when we get to have a deep connection and share things with people we like, people we respect, and that feeling is returned, and those things are returned and reciprocated by both parties, I think we want more of that, and I think that a lot of times we see what goes on social media in our lives and stuff like that. And I think, like I said, we innately want to have that deeper connection. I think it's just who we are. Some people,
I think
most
that
people, I think.
uh, when it says what drives it, I would say what drives it is we spend a lot of time at work being Mr. Dwyer, Mr. Gaddy, Mr. whomever it is. And then we go other places and we brother this person and brother that person. We got to put on various hats. So we have a necessity to find somebody that I can just be me. I don't have to be all, tied up and nice and clean and this, that, and other. I can just be straight up honest and be myself because it's a no judgment zone where I understand that if I pour my heart out, I'm not about to get uh, bashed because I'm feeling a certain way or experiencing a certain thing, but I come to tell you this so that okay, you can help because most of the time when you get around people like that, those people don't have to think like you, but they actually think. And those people you respect their judgment, you respect their ability to say call you out on your bull crap. Whereas when you at work and you got that shirt and tie on, you Mr. Such and such. Or if you out doing whatever, it's like you want to hold that esteem. But so I think that's what drives it, our ability to be honest, open, and have that dialogue, respecting the other person's views and whatever they say. Not that that's what will change your mind, but they can make you think about whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, I love it. And before we go any further, let me welcome our brother, Mr. Christopher McClellan, to the stage because I don't want to just have him sitting there idle. Brother, if you're ready, you can respond, but you can sit this one out if you want to. But forget all that. How you doing?
I am well. I'm well. I'm
Good.
well.
That's good to
How
hear.
yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right. All right. Good. That's important. Do you want to chime in or do you want to wait till the next one come around?
What drives the widespread desire for deeper connections today? Nature. Nature always wins. We are
Man, you,
supposed to be around
yeah.
each other. We are supposed to be. I say this all the time, man. We need each other a whole lot more than mainstream media will lay it out, man. And it's not a I can do this and you can do that thing. It is a nature thing. And here's the funny thing about nature. It doesn't care what you are, who you are, what religion you're at. It doesn't care about anything. Nature just is. It is always right. You can't fight it. And I think that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to fight nature. And the more we try to fight nature, the more nature shows us that we need each other. So it's a nature thing, man. This is us.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I'm loving every one of these responses because I believe that to be the case as well. I believe that we are intricately wired for connection. We thrive in the space where we have harmonious relationships. I think that's what makes this time of season so different than many others, right? Because this season is all about togetherness. This season is all about coming together and eating dinner and sharing, spending time with family and things of that nature. And hopefully, we don't have a extremely dysfunctional family because every family is dysfunctional. But at the end of the day, this is kind of like what that looks like. And I think within the confines of that, like we enjoy being around people to where we can relax. And I want to kind of go back to that where we can relax, where we can let our hair down, where we can laugh and joke and go through the roller coaster of emotions that exist, which involves this thing we call human nature. So to Chris's point, I agree. I think that's just our core makeup. We're designed to be interconnected beings with one another. That's why everything that you need in life is not found within you. You're going to have to connect with other people. You're going to have to build relationships. You're going to have to collaborate with others. And I think it's an African proverb to say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? And that is so true when it comes down to who we are. We are designed to create relationships. However, Roland, you brought up a point about, you go to work, you got to put on that tie. You know what I'm saying? You got to look good. You got to talk your best. You got to sit up. You got to sit erect. You have to speak perfect English. So, in other words, what I'm hearing you say, and I need you to confirm or deny, what I'm hearing you say is that in most cases, in a lot of these settings, we're not really being our authentic selves.
You know what? I'm gonna be real. I would agree because a lot of times when you first come around people, you show them the like I said, man, you show them the dude from the human resources department. You show them your best side so that way they can accept you or you can feel like you like. You don't send the dude from the mail room who don't really care and who is really who you are. So I agree with you. I agree with it. Sometimes there's a code switching thing that happens.
First of all, I've been both in the mailroom and in the HR office, so I take slight offense. I care. Nah, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, but
Happy Friday to you too, Tuame.
but I think there's a sense of reality that comes with the switch, right? And I know for us we call it code switching, right, in our community. But I think there's a necessity for the switch when it comes to the making a living part. But it's because, in part, uh, that loss of community that everyone's alluring to a little bit in their responses, right? Because I need to be able to sustain without needing to call Chris for help, without needing to call because Chris might be good at fixing shingles, but when my roof go bad, I'm not gonna call Chris because I'm not gonna embarrass myself by asking him to help me fix my shingles. I got to be able to pay for the roof guy. You know what I'm saying? Like we hustle and we bustle, so our jobs have become more of a necessity than our connections. So that code switching, that HR guy is important in order for me to maintain this and elevate this. Because if I stay on this job for more than 10 years and I don't promote, you know, the people in the community that I don't even talk to are going to think that I'm a loser, right? So it it's a lot that we just mentally deal with that comes along with that. And so when you do find some people that you connect with, the reason why a lot of us look forward to getting on here on Friday and having a conversation with each other is because I'm tired of being that dude. I'm tired of every conversation I have is a conversation that is based upon me keeping my job. That's based upon me being able to feed my kids. And it's just the part of the life we live today.
So I understand work. I understand code switching. I also am open to the thought that sometimes it's okay. Well, it's more like we we're human. There's more than just this version of me. There are different versions of me. You know what I mean? I don't think that I'm necessarily putting on airs at work. There are certain behaviors and certain things that are expected of you at work that may not be in different settings. You know what I mean? So at work, I'm there to do a job. I'm not there to be your friend or anything like that. You know what I mean? Depend on the job that you have or whatever like that. So I think sometimes I think it is code switching, but I think that we do that all the time. The conversation that we have on this platform may be different than a conversation that we can have on a different platform where, more language may be tolerated or, the setting is different. I don't think that we're necessarily putting on airs. I just think that we have to be able to adjust to the setting that we're in sometimes. And I don't think that there's anything per se, negative about that. I just think that, we have to adapt. And if we want to have certain relationships with people, then sometimes not that we have to put our best foot forward, but if the relationship is valuable, then we have to respect that with everything that we say may not be right. and everything that they say may not be right. So if you go in with respect, I don't know, man. I don't want to spin it off too much, man. But I think at the end of the day, it's okay to be different in different settings. Way I am with my wife is not how I am if I'm walking down the street with Coach. You know how I am in
I would
church.
hope
Right?
not.
You know what I'm saying? So how I am at church might not be how I am at school, because the environment is different, the setting is different, the behaviors and the expectations of each individual and their behavior is different. We go to the club, you know, I can have a little bit more loose behavior and it's totally acceptable. So
I used the term code switching for lack of a better term. So I apologize if I derailed the conversation. That's
nope.
number one. Number two, Uncle Junior, your hat is amazing, and I want one.
Got you. Say
I
yes.
do. I want one. And
It ain't gonna match
three,
your beard like it does his.
but
Black matches everything.
but when I think of code switching, I think of you not being authentically yourself during the times that you can't be, and then going to an atmosphere where you are where you are. Like I know some of the ghettoest doctors in the world. You understand what I'm saying? Like I literally know dentists that will drink you under the table and still go to work and do a root canal. You
But
understand what I'm
is
saying?
that
Like
authentically them though? Like if
it might be,
because I know how
but
to
that's why I
behave.
said
I'm not
right.
you know, I don't drink all the time. I know how to behave.
Right. That's why I said I used it for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? I kind of meant
So,
when I meant,
I think that was a great term.
but what I
so
meant by it was it's at the point where you get comfortable and you can actually like really, really be yourself. And the HR dude ain't always there, and the and you know what I'm saying, and the dude from the mailroom creep out every now and then. You understand what I'm saying? That's kind of what I meant by it.
I mean, so to be honest, so for the sake of answering the question,
And
right?
Coach,
When we, my bad. But when we go talking about code switching, it's less about behavior and it's more about the language we use, right? And for Coach, he's from Georgia. They speak differently, right? I'm from New York. We speak differently. And there's a slang in our community that we use in New York. There's a slang that they use in the community in Detroit. So code switching is being able to come out of that environment, out of where you out of your family's conversation, your family's way of speaking, and show up. And now your language changes. You speak more professional. You use better vocabulary, better diction, because the environment is different. So I in a sense, I think it can be a little bit of inauthentic behavior, but I think it's still necessary, because you have to, at the end of the day, at some point you have to be able to code switch, because not everybody gonna understand what you're saying or receive how you say it. If that makes sense.
I think Roland was
I think
trying to.
I
There you
don't know if
go.
y'all can hear me because I don't
Yep.
know if I think it's my signal that's messing up.
We got you.
Okay, you got me?
Yeah.
Okay. Code switching, it's when you go bounce between more than one language, it has to do. It's like I made fun of my mother the other day online because when we were growing up, she used to get on the phone, and I told my sister, I swear it's a white woman in my house, in our house, because on the phone, like who the heck is that? And she gonna get off that phone and she gonna be mad somebody else. It's just like when we talk, we speak conversational English. If you go on the right, unless you talking in that voice in the book, that shouldn't be what goes on that paper, because you're gonna have something messed up, because a lot of us don't pronounce certain sounds. We don't say the TH. We say this and we say that. And when it comes to code switching, I think that was a World War II, I want to say, because the Germans spoke, bilingual people speaking back and forth, so other people wouldn't be hip to what they were necessarily saying. And that's how we get sometimes where I can talk to, if I'm in a frat, I can talk to my brothers in the frat a certain way so they know what's being talked about versus if I'm talking to someone else and they are just a regular layman, we can just talk about this part. So when you can bounce between multiple languages, and that happens in our culture, a lot of us, because we can go from speaking almost the Queen's English or at least the American version to we on the block and Gaddy going home and he calling people God and this, that, and the other.
But I think we have to, like, the language is different in different settings.
I was
Like
gonna go there.
the language in New York in certain places is different than the language in Mississippi. It's different than the language they speak in Michigan.
So let's kind of let's do
It's
this
a
then.
familiarity.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Let's do this. Let's do this
So
because
wouldn't
I
code switching be a
understand.
good thing?
Well,
Hold on.
hold on. I understand what you're saying with in certain sects, in certain areas, in certain environments, my language is going to change. And you hear it, especially for a person who speaks a foreign language. They've been in the United States for years and they seem like their accent starts to dissipate until they get on the phone with their relatives and the accent comes right back almost instantaneously. But let's talk about behavior now. Like, what about when your behavior kind of vacillates, depending upon the settings that you're in? Uncle Junior, I like what you were saying earlier, because you like, I'm not, who I am around my wife, I'm not the same around certain people. Who I am at work, I may not necessarily be the same person at the bar after work. But what about that? Is that an example? And can somebody look at your behavior from that perspective and say that you're not the same person, you're not being authentic?
People can say that, but it's really not up to them to be able to judge, because at the end of the day, I know myself. I know my intent behind my behaviors when I'm in certain settings. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm I'm at home, I don't know, if I'm at home and I'm acting a certain way, then I think it's sometimes it kind of comes down to your values and stuff like that. Sometimes our values and stuff kind of determines our behaviors. So I don't think your values should be changing when you're in different settings, right? So if your values is, hey, I don't, I don't throw on low cut dress and shake my behind in the club. Not talking about dudes, but I'm saying some women, right? And then your friend like, hey, let's go do this. And then now in that setting, you're doing those things where you've changed who you are for whatever reason. And I don't think in those settings, in those situations, that's okay, because I just don't. I don't think that changing your behavior is okay when it's in a negative sense.
See, but
Um,
who would deem it negative? See, I'm of the thought, like my wife hate, like I'm a fool at all times. You wake me up, you gonna get me. I'm not changing because I'm at work. I'm not changing because I'm at church or something. I'm not changing because I have to be comfortable with myself. And if I'm not degrading or belittling somebody, I feel like either you get used to it and deal with it, or you kick rocks. I'm not going to be the one to change because I'm not looking at it whether it's a negative or a positive. I'm looking at it, it's me.
Well, aren't there some dangers involved with that though?
There's a danger
I
involved
don't
in
think so.
everything.
As long as you're not, as
There
long
is
as you're
a
not trying to offend and you're not being offensive and purposely doing things, and you're not, like, some people are naturally nasty. That's not me. Some people are naturally things that will, put people in a position where I like to joke, I like to have fun, I like to keep it light, and wherever I am, that's it's me. That's
Mm.
why people will say, like y'all even said it, that's just wrong. Yeah, that's just me. Because I'm not doing anything malicious, and I gotta be comfortable. And a lot of times what people do when you masking it to act like somebody else and act like this, it becomes confusing and taxing. But if you're yourself 24/7, they know what to expect. And if you have a work ethic and all that, you're good to go. It's like, okay, you know what you get when you get me. If
Right.
I'm acting differently, then like, okay, what's wrong with him?
Yeah,
I,
and I'm
But you
not
know me,
and,
not
and
right.
and I'm not grilling you, right? And this is for everybody, but everybody has blind spots, right? So there are certain things that I can't see in my behavior that must be revealed to me. So if I have the posture to where I automatically say, "Well, that's just me," then is good. Couldn't part of that danger be that I am rejecting the new information that somebody has given me, which can actually lead to a growth style behavior? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think right there where you just brought up is where relationships come into play, because if we already don't get along and I don't like you, everything you say to me sound like shade. And so when you start, even you might be telling me the truth, but because our relationship is not that type of relationship, is going I'm gonna take it a different way. Man, he's hating. Man, he he want me. I don't know who he think he talking to, but I'm not blah 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 whatever. But when I have a relationship, if coach come to me and show me something about myself, then whether or not I agree on the spot, I have to at least take in consideration and begin to think about who I am, what I'm doing, and identifying that in myself and being honest. I think the problem comes in is when you brought up the blind spots. Are we honest enough with ourselves and able to take self accountability of the things that we say or do that may negatively affect the impact that we're looking for? So sometimes that switch is necessary when you get to work, because and it's like Roland's a fool. He likes to joke, but there's some jokers I know that are fools that like to joke, that are of the artillery persuasion, that some of them jokes you can't transfer to the office. You got to leave that in the field. you know I love you, coach, but
I have no idea
but,
what you're talking about.
exactly. And it needs to stay in the unknown places with them jokes, like, but that's just real. That's who artillerymen are, right? That's how artillerymen
But
talk when they get together. But can they take that same conversation that came out the field and bring that before Sergeant Major, depending on who your Sergeant
see,
Major
I
is,
don't
right?
think you change who you are because you change your conversation. Like I know, I understand what it is to be professional and setting. I can read a room and know, like, okay, dude, you need to dial it back. That's still me being me. I'm not changing me. What I'm doing is changing what I'm giving to the environment, to the setting. That's it. But I'm still me because I understand when I'm in this setting, okay, all that's not called for. So I'm not changing. What I'm doing is shifting my conversation to where it's fruitful over here because this conversation is not necessary here. So I leave that out back. But
You
I
switch the
don't look at
code
it
up
as
a
me
little bit.
changing. Right.
Yeah. Code switching.
What you got, Chris?
You know, over the past couple of years, I have kind of sort of perfected a skill. And that skill is shutting up when people are talking from that I need to learn from. I just learned something from both of these people. This is and there is a reason why I shut up. Code switching is a buzzword. It's not really clearly defined and you hear it all over the internet. So I needed to hear like real life what it was. So yeah, I got nothing.
Okay, you got any last words on that?
I
I'm
was
just
trying to
saying.
I was trying to, you know, kind of create an analogy of what I was kind of thinking about. So like, is this in a different way any different than, we're talking about changing behavior based on settings in a sense. So if a man chooses to, they're at home with this lady and they grope each other, they enjoy touching each other's butts and different things like that, right? But then when they go out in public and they do that, then people's like, oh, they need to get a room. So that is a situation where you change your behavior based off the setting. Yeah, that's who you are. Your wife may like for you to grab her butt, but in public or in church, maybe that's not the best place to be doing those things. So I think we all change our behaviors based off of the setting that we're in. Like I said, I mentioned before, I think it becomes a problem when you change for the negative. You know what I mean? Like you're a certain way, you know, and I will go back to high school and probably middle and elementary school where we all behaved a certain way at home. But then when we got to school, we might sneak and say a little cuss word or sneak and look at a little picture of something, you know, that we ain't supposed to do. So I think we've all guilty of, you know what I mean, changing our behaviors and doing certain things in public or in private that we may not always do. So that's my last little 2 cents.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
go ahead.
So can I ask a question?
Yep.
And this is just clarification. So basically, code switching is okay depending on the environment, as long as you are not compromising who you are as a person. Am I getting that right?
That's what I agree. That's what I think. As long as I'm not
Okay.
changing
Okay.
my values
Okay.
and who I am, nothing wrong with it. Like the way I'm talking to you is different than the conversation I had this morning with my boy. You know what I mean? My values and the basis of my conversation is the same, but there are little differences and nuances that go into the conversation because me and you have a different relationship than me and him. Me and him go back to middle school. So our conversations and our information about each other is a lot greater than information that me and you have shared with each other over the last year and a half.
Gad, you had something that you was about to add, I think.
no, it was after Unc finished his last statement. For me, I'm thinking about when I did sneak off and said a little cuss word. When I did sneak off to look at, the little picture or the magazine that got thrown out of the store that we picked up and put in our book bags
There
and
we
did,
go.
you know. But I wouldn't that. I don't think is being inauthentic or changing personalities or switching up. I That's an error though, an era of our life to where we're finding ourselves.
Cause we
And so
still
I think
kids and stuff like that.
yeah,
So it's a little
and
different.
even as adults, I think some of us as we get older, we're trying to figure out who because who 20-year-old me and 40-year-old me can't be the same me. Like there's certain things that mentally I know better than. So now that I know better, now that I've gained 10 more years, 20 more years of information, I'm refining myself. And so sometimes it seems like a switch up, but I'm finding who I am. And those moments are important too, so that you can now that's a growing process. And so I don't know, it gets kind of weird because we say I'm being authentically me. Like Roland may have told jokes when he was 20, but Roland ain't the same Roland at 50 that he was at 20. You get
And
what I'm
that
saying?
will right. That's where I was going to go. Um, I think Uncle Junior hit the nail on the head for me, right? He mentioned values. And so what we have to understand is that we tend to do character development in the direction of what we hold important in our life. Those should be values, right? So if we are constantly moving in the direction of our values incrementally over time, then what ends up happening is that we listen to the feedback that we get from other people. No disrespect to anybody, but the notion, the idea, um the concept of this is just who I am, it gives off the wrong perception, because what I am telling you is that I have no desire to grow except to accept what I present to you. And if you don't like it, then you can go and kick rocks and go someplace else, right? So we have to understand that within the grand scheme of this thing that we call existence, we are constantly growing, we're constantly developing. And if you choose not to, life is going to force you to. So ultimately, you don't have a choice. And so, in the midst of growing in the direction of our values, we actually get feedback. And ideally, what we should be doing is we should be doing some self reflection, right? We do some self reflection so we can actually analyze who we are and then start changing things, make those micro adjustments as needed. But I need somebody else to tell me some of the things that they see, because I can't see everything. Do me a favor and bring up Tamrat's conversation, because this is the thing. And I want you to understand this is textbook, but even in this, you can see the confusion, right? So authenticity is the quality of being true to self. That's where the confusion exists, because in most cases we don't really know who we are. We are learning who we are throughout time. I'm learning what happens when this situation is presented to me, how I respond, look at my values. Did my response honor my values? No, I need to make some adjustments here, right? So, being true to yourself and not pretending to be someone else. A lot of cases, especially when you're younger, right, young adolescent years, you want to be like your dad. So you tend to mirror some of the things that they do and so forth and so on. So I greatly appreciate him sharing this, because this is accurate. This is textbook. But you can see within the definition, this human is going to have some states, some spaces where confusion sets in, because I am still learning who I am authentically, right? And growing in the direction of my values, because ideally, the mature version of me looks like my values. So, Tamrat, thank you for sharing that. And, man, good to see you and welcome to the show. Let me grab some other points that are made, because you guys were defining some things and sharing. Go all the way back to um,
And being true to yourself and who you are changes and evolves over time too. So, like, like Son of Timothy said earlier, the 20-year-old version versus the 40-year-old version. Who he is 20 is authentically who he is. But at 40, that's who he is too, even though they're two totally different people. The same person, but and a more evolved person at 40.
absolutely, and that's why I said what I said.
Hmm.
So thank you for continuing to develop that, because you're absolutely right, absolutely right. Michelle Ray says also many people are looking for that identity. If family uh, or in the midst of all fathers or mothers, you will look for deeper connections. Absolutely, that's a perfect example of what we just got finished saying. Right? It is. I have to learn within the scope of my development who I am and who I'm trying to be. And in a perfect scenario, it's either coming from my dad. And if my dad isn't there, then I'm looking for some young man, some man to grab hold to. Ideally, my uncles, his brother or my mom's brother, whatever that looks like. But you got to realize some people don't have that. On the flip side, young girls, they look at their mother. And here's the other side. What if your dad is somebody you don't desire to be like? Or what if your mom is somebody you don't desire to be like, and you want to do everything on the other side, polarized opposite, right? So this can be some confusion that exists, and then you have steeper learning curves that you have to go through in conjunction with that growth and development. Yes, sir.
All right, so it's funny how you mentioned like not wanting to be like your father or something like that. I literally had a conversation with my brother about this two less than 2 weeks ago. And we were just talking like most of my adulthood, I tried not to be like my father. Right. My father was he had a substance abuse issue that he struggled with for many years. And but when I took myself out of it and I realized and I became, more aware, I realized that I wanted to be just like him, right? The man who he was, his values, his principles, and different things like that, that's who I wanted to be like. But I was so blinded by the negative things that was going on in his life that I spent most of my adult life trying not to be like him because that's all I saw. You know what I
Mm,
mean? But now it's like I remember who he was to the core. And if you take away that substance abuse, like you didn't have nothing else on him. My dad was freaking rock solid other than that.
man, that's an awesome scenario. And thank you for sharing that. And it may look different from somebody else. Go ahead, Gaddy.
I'm sorry. Because when you speak, and this is something that I just believe wholeheartedly. So, but excuse me if it comes off a little preachy, but I think when we look at people and things that because all of us, let's be honest, every last one of us got something that 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 has a hold of us. It might be our attitude. It might be a certain alcohol. If I'm going to drink, I got to drink this specific drink, or I gotta say this and this. Like there's something about us that we all have a hold of. But there's a difference between you know something having a hold of me and that being the essence of who I am. And I think so often we attach being an alcoholic as the person, and and not being able to look past and see the quality of human being behind the drinking. And so when you finish that statement, man, that blessed me, because I love how you flipped it around and said, if I take away the alcohol, and most of us can't do that, there's somebody beyond the drugs, there's somebody beyond the alcohol, and if you take that away, there might be someone that you can look to. There's someone that you can actually learn from. It's just some things just grab a hold of us.
Absolutely. I think the second sentence here kind of sums up what you guys are saying perfectly, right? So the second sentence in this whole scheme of authenticity, like we say, is growth, right? Authenticity is not a state of perfection. We got to be careful because sometimes and I think somebody made mention of relationship, right? We need to understand whether or not the person that's giving me feedback understands my values. If their values look different than mine, then I can listen to their feedback, but I am going to sift their feedback through my values because that's the thing that helps me to grow. But if they have in their mind what they think I'm supposed to look like, in other words, if she tells me what a real man looks like, she doesn't have a good metric of you see what I'm saying? I'm only using that as an example because I want to make a clear statement, right? You can't have your own image of what you think a person is supposed to be because you may not necessarily understand their values. So, relationship is the thing that helps us to understand if we have shared values. If we have shared values, then I feel confident in giving Roland and Gaddy and Uncle Junior and Chris feedback because I have their best interest in heart. I'm not telling them something that is going to hurt them or damage them. I'm telling them things that will help them. Now, if they take offense to it, that's not necessarily my responsibility. I can't give it to them on a trash can lid, but if they know me, then they understand that it is for my desire for them is that continual process of growth and learning. Chris, it looked like you was about to chime in, brother.
And you said something there. When you said you can't give it to them on the trash can lid, it's about the presentation part. I think that's why with the first question, when you develop those relationships, you respect and the person respects you so much that you understand when they come to you, it's not meant in any harmful way. So you respect it a little more. You need people like that versus the dude at work that's trying to tell you what to do. He done had 7 wives and he trying to tell you what to do with yours. Or the dude that ain't never been married, he trying, well, you need to do this. No, because you need that relationship with somebody like, man, I understand when they come to me, they not just coming throwing something at me. They done thought about it. They know me. They know my heart. Like you said, they know my values. So they actually are aware of all these things. So when they bring something to you, you like, yeah, okay, I can sit with that. I can accept that because you're not coming antagonistic and you're not just trying to judge where I am to put me down. What you're trying to do is say, dude, you need to chop some things off so that you can raise up and you can be better. And I know you get better in you.
Do you think that's easy?
No, that's
Just
why
anybody,
that's why
like,
a lot of us walk around without people in our lives.
yeah, because like
Making it
I've had some friends and associates that I've had to like have strong conversation with, and I didn't really look forward to having the conversation.
It
Of
sucks,
course,
don't it?
yeah, because it's
It
like, man, we
sucks.
supposed to be like on a different level, and it's like I ain't really expecting this out of you. You know what I mean? So it's like I remember I had one, but it turned out okay. So I was fortunate that it turned out okay. But it's like, and I think it's because you may value the person or the relationship. You know what I mean? And it may be some disappointment there. You know what I mean? Because I had to have one like 2 weeks ago, man. I was like, golly, man. Yeah, faith over fear,
I'm
man.
I'm I'm here for it, bro. Listen,
Bruh.
I say this all. I hate. I don't mean no disrespect when I say this, right? But I think adversity in relationships is the thing that builds intimacy in relationships. The only thing that stands in between it is when a person chooses to be stubborn and not hear. If they cannot hear, then they're choosing. In fact, what they're really saying is that, hey, man, that's just me. But if they can hear it, right, whatever it is that during this conversation, if they heard what you had to say, right, and you didn't go in there with both guns blazing, you know what I'm saying? Then if they heard you, then the relationship at that particular point had the ability to expand with depth and breadth. So, and I really do believe that. However, comma, most people, a lot of people go straight on defense. Nope, that's not me.
Yeah.
Shields up, shields up.
See,
Bro, I got a dude right now, man. I think he been taken by a chick, but the
and you see all the
tone,
signs, you know all of the
bruh.
signals, you know everything to look
Yeah,
for, and he just won't listen to you.
I
See,
ain't said
this
nothing
is
to him. I
when
don't want to have a conversation
and see, that's the fight that we have
because
all the time.
I could be wrong. It could be just that's my vision of the relationship. You know what I mean? And who am I to say, bro? Look, she taking you for a ride. But, you know, that's what I so that's why that's the struggle for me is going off of what I think versus what I know and whether or not I should have the conversation. But I
But
didn't.
You know,
like I had the same conversation last night where someone you telling them reality and they telling you whatever, and I'm one of them people. I done told you once. You come back with it again. I mention it again, and when you say it again, I say okay, because life can teach you better than I can tell you. So I told you a couple times, like, dude, this is you call it what you want. I ain't get to 50. I got to 50 stumbling, rolling, and falling. And I'm telling you, so you won't do that. But you saying, I got this. Do your thing.
I
I'm
sure
here
hope
for you.
I'm wrong.
See,
I,
here's the
I
thing.
think from
Can I say something real quick?
Mhm.
See, here's the thing, and here's why I say this all the time. A lot of people don't know the difference between us talking about a behavior and us talking about them. Like they can't split the difference. It's like if we say something about some stuff that you're doing, they automatically view it as you think I'm a horrible person. And that's not the case. You're not a horrible person. You just did something stupid and I need to tell you about it because I love you. A lot of people can't pull themselves out of it and just look at it. So I can understand why conflict could be like that.
I think, and you're right. You're absolutely correct. I think a lot of people, when they hear you addressing behavior, they think that you're addressing the person. And I think a lot of times what we have to learn to do is separate ourselves from our behavior. If you're telling me about my behavior, then I need to understand that, okay, that's something I need to work on. But if you're telling me about me, if you're attacking me, that's a whole different conversation. It comes off totally different. And what we have to do is learn to separate the two because one will help me grow, one would, help me to, do some things to you. Um, so let me ask this because I think we kind of peeled that back pretty good. Why do you think if we understand that, and I'm just going to take you guys as a sample, if we understand that ideally within the grand scheme of this whole existence, why do you think superficial relationships exist?
Mm, mm. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, define superficial.
I think we just did. Anything that doesn't look like what we just talked about. Any relationship that you have
I
that
think
does not have depth and breadth would be considered superficial.
I think a
It's
lot of people just
honestly
like to be around people.
exactly. It's the nature thing about the connection, but they don't understand that their nature is they're pointing them in directions that they don't really need to be, if that makes any sense. A lot of people just have to be around somebody. A lot of people don't know how to be by themselves.
A lot of people find common likes and say, hey, we do the same thing. Yeah, but you don't like that person. That person has no values, has no goals. You just like to go to the cigar bar on Thursdays. So now we hang out.
They're a
That's
placeholder.
not my friend. Yeah, it's like, see, and then when you get older, you find yourself, I ain't gotta hang out with a bunch of people.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they don't have
Wow.
no values. Maybe our values are misaligned, but I mean, no values,
And
bro.
I, th-
I think the
I think
superficial
sometimes you can
relationship is a
grow,
placeholder.
but you can grow in that. Sometimes when
Yeah.
you
You
actually
could
get
grow
to
out of
know
that
the
superficial
person,
relationship.
or you can grow into it where you realize what makes them tick, why they are how they are, and then you're like, oh man, this person can add value over here with me, or I can add value to them, and then it's like now you find your way to where you can fit in instead of looking at what you had in common and thinking you knew the person versus you actually getting to know the person.
Yeah. And then you can, but before all of that, there's the why. Why are you here? You understand what I'm saying? Like, why are you here? If if you are just here just to take up time until the right person is supposed to take your spot, play your position. If I'm supposed to learn something from you, I'm supposed to learn something from you. I mean, but I get what you're saying. Sometimes you get in superficial relationships and it turns out to not be superficial because you look past it. Other times you have a superficial relationship because you just need somebody and you don't know how to be by yourself.
Mm.
And that's honestly the majority of us. We don't know how to be by ourselves, but we're constantly talking about how we don't need each other. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I really wish I would stop it.
Mm.
Like, can we not take that into 2024?
Not me.
I'm
I,
curious to know what he is thinking. That brother got a look on his face right now.
Let me mute my mic.
I've been trying to wrap my head around a superficial relationship. I've really been trying to think about it, and I've been trying to figure out who should I ask. I really think that Chris could really give a good example of what a superficial relationship is. And I think, and if not, like I really want to like have an example of like, because I think that's what I need. I need a little bit more in depth other than just words. I need a visualization of what someone can look at as superficial. You know, I have
You
my
can,
thoughts, but
have you been at work or whatever, and other people onlookers said, "Man, look at them, they friends," because you might have eaten with someone twice or been around them, and they think, "Oh, y'all boys, y'all homies," but you really don't know this person. You just this is the only time I see this dude,
is it
this
lunch?
female, whoever it
Oh,
is,
this
whatever it
yeah.
is, whoever it is. It's like we do this together, and people think we're friends, but I'm not gonna call you. You're not gonna call me. So there's no relational value that you are adding to me or I'm adding to you other than this place, whether it's a bowling league, whether it's a fraternity, whether it's you going to church. We go to church and everybody, brother, sister, mother, yada, 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 but they don't really love you. They don't have a concern for you because they don't know you. You can't love who you don't know. So people lie all the time saying, "Oh, I love you, bro. I love you." You don't know me. Stop lying. Like, because if you knew me, you know what my hurts are. You'll know that when I go home, I'm looking at some ketchup and some mayonnaise. I ain't got no food. But then they think, "Oh, I thought you was all right." Yeah, you thought because you don't know me. Get to know the person. You don't know a person by outside experiences. You got to spend time. And that's what we don't. We spend times, not time.
And so the question was, why do superficial relationships exist?
If we know all of what we talked about previously, and I'm going to assume that most people know that, right?
Mhm.
If that's the case, then why do superficial relationships exist?
I think because based off of everything that I've heard, I think that someone is still getting something from the relationship, good, bad, or indifferent. I think that they're still getting something. If you look at a trauma bond, they're still getting something from that. And sometimes it may just be a place where you can go and dump, you know what I mean? And sometimes people just want to hear gossip, you know what I mean? Or just be able to talk about this, or this. So that's what that's kind of my thoughts, you know. I don't have a whole lot. I'm gonna chew on it a little bit longer, but that's initially what I was thinking.
I get that. I get junk mail out the mailbox every now and then. Go ahead, get it. What you got?
Yeah.
I think that we know what the elements of bad relationships are, but I think too many of us don't know the elements of a good relationship, and so because of that, and I don't want to use the word settling, right? Because people hold value just may not connect to where we're trying to go, right? But uh, but we hang along because sometimes we may feel like there ain't nothing better. Or sometimes we say, well, this is the only person that could tolerate me being me, you know, or sometimes we neither one of us just know where to go from here. Like it's what does a relationship look like? What does success looks like in a relationship? And for so many of us, we were taught success is just making it till death, right? Uh Nothing involved in that, just making it till death. And so when you don't even have a true understanding of what the relationship with the Most High is supposed to look like, then how do I know what a relationship with my brother is supposed to look like? Right? Because we've distorted even we've distorted the scriptures so much that we don't even know what that relationship is supposed to look like. We have a superficial understanding of that, as if it's just, well, I said I believe, and then the relationship is there, and I'm going to heaven now. Um, I'm waiting to be caught up. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no instrumental value in that relationship except for when I'm trying to get this promotion. Oh, Jesus is gonna do it. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Or I'm waiting on the check in the mail. Let me drink this spring water from, you know, Mr.
Hmm.
Papa, and you know what I'm saying? Like that's so we don't really know. Today's society is very lacking when it comes to the idea of true relationships. So we just deal.
I like it. I like it. Go ahead, bro.
See, I think we don't know how to connect because we don't have any. We don't value the people. We value the small connection, not the person. And then since we do that, it's like when Jesus and Peter were talking. Jesus asked him, he says, "Lovest thou me, Peter?" Peter said, "Yeah, I love you." 3 times he said this. He was asking him, "Do you love me?" Not like your brother, not like your homies. Do you love me as your savior? And Peter kept saying, "Yeah, you my dog." No, you don't know me yet. You don't really know me because I'm not trying to be that in your life. I'm trying to be bigger than that. And see, sometimes we don't have a place to put people. So we will just leave them out there. Okay, you're good for this. And I'll leave you out there. So every Tuesday, we homies. That's my boy. But you don't know what he's going through Monday, Thursday, whatever, and he don't know what you going through, but on Tuesday he there. He there for me on Tuesday. So the connection never grows because you don't have enough value in you to say, man, I value you for more than just this moment. What's going on in your life? Let's sit down and break bread. Let's chop it up.
Yeah, I like that. Let's break through some barriers real quick because I think it's clear that there is a difference, right? So when we break, when so it's clear that there's a difference, and for whatever reason, you have the authentic relationships that exist, and they may be far few and in between, but then you also have some very superficial relationships, and I like what Uncle Junior was saying in the background because we'll meet people just for the sake of networking, but we never expound on that relationship. We never get to the point to where we develop that relationship to something fruitful. So outside of social media, because I think we understand that social media can be one of the most superficial things there is, what are some common barriers to creating meaningful moments and genuine bonds?
Don't nobody know how. Don't nobody know how. They stuck in their phones outside of social media. Listen, man, one big barrier is rejection. People are scared of rejection. That's really what it is. If you reject me on social media, I can just block you and go on about my business. But I can't block you in real life. You understand what I'm saying? That's the common barrier. That and the fact that we don't know how because we're so busy communicating through keyboards instead of actually looking at each other in real life. I can't tell you how many times I've driven down the street and seen kids almost get hit by cars because they faces down in their phones. These kids don't know what they doing, and the thing is they don't know because nobody showed them and they ain't have a clear example.
I am so glad you said that. That last part.
Yeah, you gotta give them. Yeah, you have to give them a little grace because they don't know what they doing because the people that were above them didn't know what they were doing either.
I I think I think we deal with extreme selfishness, and I added extreme to that because everything we hear, everything we see, everything people are saying, you know, even not on social media, just the advice I hear people give is selfish. Like, yes, you have to take care of your mental health, take care of your body, but there's no relationship without the other person. And if both part, I think the problem is when we talk trying to create meaningful moments, everybody has a vision of what they want, and that's all they care about. Well, this is what I wanted out of a relationship. This is how I want to raise my kids, and this is where I wanted to go for dinner. This is the rides. If we go to a theme park, what I thought we'd get on this one. Well, you already had it planned out in your head. Why did I even come? Why am I here? You know what I'm saying? So we both have things planned out in our heads, but the reality is when we come together, we have to reason with one another. We have to lay it out what we both see and envision, and then how does that come together? What can I do to help you get to what you're looking for? And you have to come with that same energy. But the problem is we come into these to me, I believe our barriers when it comes to creating bonds or even or moments is because we want it our way only. And so the only moments that you have to look back to help you or to build memories and to build moments, you'll be by yourself.
See, I think I didn't have a problem with that because growing up, my friends or my family, they were people that my parents spent time with. So when they spent time with their parents, I saw them build a relationship and have something going. So it made it easier for me to have these friends who became family because now we have something in common and we can talk. And it's like, okay, I've been knowing this person since Pampers and we developed over time. So you know me, I know you. So growing up, it's like, okay, everybody's not your friend, everybody's not your family. And I don't think we should try to make everybody put everybody in that place. I think that's a developmental thing. You need to develop relationships. And if I'm developing a relationship with somebody, if I'm taking this time out, now I got to let you know where my heart is. If my heart is on biblical things, I got to tell you that so you can pull back. You can say, okay, that's not where I'm trying to go. But you know, when you come to me, you're getting biblical principles. You're not getting what Roland think. You're not because Roland gonna say it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. I'm gonna tell you to do some things because I grew, I'm gonna come out of me and not out of, scripture. So if I'm trying to grow and I want you to grow with me and I want you to help me grow, I have to show you what's pouring into me so that if I need pouring into, you know how to pour.
Outside of social media, what are some common barriers to creating meaningful moments and genuine bonds? Four of the five of us up here have served time in the military. And one thing that the military does is that it takes away one, two, three, four, five. What did I say?
Why
Y'all
did you
laugh.
make it sound?
You
Why you
paused
sound
at
like
serve
a
Time.
time.
We
yeah.
finished, man.
Oh, well,
I'm
all
about
right.
to say
So
I ain't never been to jail.
let me
We
pause.
telling my business.
Serve time in the
Yeah,
military. Let me
that
clear that
pause
up.
right there was like, okay, where are
I
we
ain't
going
never
with
been to
this?
Leavenworth. I'm just putting that out there
So,
for all those
all
watching.
right.
I've never been to Leavenworth.
So 4 of the 5 gentlemen on this panel have served time in the military. And one of the things, if you know anything about the military, is that they're going to take your time, right? You're going to work some late hours. You're going to deploy. You're going to go overseas. There are going to be a lot of different things that's going to go on that's going to take away time from building those relationships with your spouse, with your kids. So for me, my one common barrier is time. And when I say time, it's the hesitancy or the lack to put in the time to create or make those meaningful moments and those genuine bonds. You know what I mean? If we look at our best relationships, I guarantee you we can look at both parties and see the longevity or the amount of time that has been put into the relationship. You know what I mean? Relationships have to stand the test of time. Coach has said many times, let time, right? That he got from his grandma or somebody. I think it's grandma, you know, and I think it's the same thing with relationships. Sometimes certain things, you know, you may have something, a rocky moment, but we're not willing to let time. You know what I mean? And if if it's a great relationship, you're going to have some meaningful moments. They may not all be good, but they're going to be meaningful and they're going to create those genuine bonds. So I think for me, it's sometimes just the reluctancy or the hesitancy to put in the time. And sometimes that time or the reluctancy to put in the time could come from some past hurt. So I think sometimes we don't want to put the time in.
Bravo, sir. I so like what you said. And just to clear up my grandmother's saying, I want y'all to get it right because it's such a wonderful saying. I love it. Just give time, right? Because I think when you really stop and think into it, there's a lot of power within that small saying. And I think as we move forward, let's jump on fostering understanding. And the first question under there, I think as we move forward, every significant relationship, every genuine relationship, every authentic relationship requires time. It requires us to nurture it. It requires us to develop it. It requires us to invest in it. So, gentlemen, what are some of the most important things that we must understand to create memorable moments and genuine relationships?
I will say one of those things is you have to understand that it might be a sacrifice on your end, right? Or the other person. What I mean by that is this. You may not want to go to that concert that she want to go to, or you may not want to go to that play. But when you go and y'all spend that time together, you know what I mean, or do something that you may not want to do, you may find out that it wasn't that bad. And then, and it may create a memorable moment. So I would just say, I will start off with that. Ain't gonna spend too much time because I'm looking at the clock.
I would say
Sacrifice.
that their experiences are valuable to them. So don't look at what they have gone through as something small or petty because you haven't experienced it or you've experienced something that you deem is harsher, more harsh.
I'm gonna say, don't be afraid to be genuine in the first place. Be yourself. Be genuine. If you want to genuine, Unc said it best, man. Sometimes it's equivalent exchange. Sometimes you are going to have to give something up to get something. Just be genuine when you do it. Be genuine and understand that you being genuine is was good for the relationship in the first place. That's where I would start. And quit being so scared. I've noticed that, man. A lot of people out here are terrified. And they're terrified to even attempt to do any of these things because of past hurts or past trauma or a story that they heard from a friend of theirs that they never lived through. But it's really not as bad as people make it out to be. And like I said earlier, man, we need each other a whole lot more than what everybody would make it seem like.
It don't cost money to create memorable moments and bonds either. And
That is
sometimes,
true.
even though it don't take money, on the other side of that, be willing to sacrifice your money or your resources for those memorable moments and bonds too. Sometimes
So
we like, look, I'm tight with my money. You know, I know you want to go on this vacation, but you know, we ain't going. Sometimes it's okay to put some things aside to create that moment in your relationship, no matter regardless of who or what it is for.
so going to the Cheesecake Factory is a good first date. I'm joking. I'm sorry. You
No,
got it.
bro, we
No,
going.
he
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
he
That's a
come-
great first date.
nah.
Right.
We're not
He
doing
just
that
said,
tonight. We are
I'm
not
just
doing
said-
that tonight.
joking,
he
man. I'm
just said,
joking.
come up off that
And
money.
look,
So I
we
heard
go
spend
to
$300.
Cheesecake Factory. I'll pay everything. But then next week, I want you to make a meal like the Cheesecake Factory. If you can't cook like the Cheesecake Factory, then you can't go to the
That's
Cheesecake
kind of
Factory.
low end because you
I'm just
realize
picking. Yeah,
Cheesecake
I'm just
Factory
picking.
food ain't that great.
I'm just picking. I'm just running my mouth. I'm just playing.
What you got, Gator?
Oh man, I say let it be, let let it be natural. Appreciate life's moments, and you'll find your memorable moments. Um, I think the problem with creating memorable moments is that we're looking at people's social media feeds to find the memorable moments we want. And so we never have an authentic memorable moment because we're trying to fabricate one. We're we're looking. It's crazy that for all of us, when I was a teenager and y'all were in y'all 20s in the early in the military, everybody was looking at well, let me not lie. I don't know who they're looking at in the 90s, but in the 2000s, they were looking at Will and Jada. Everybody was looking at uh uh all these with Oprah and Stedman. Like we kept bringing these relationships, like people looking at these relationships that now are falling apart and being exposed in the 2020s, right? Because and so now relationships across the board are just suffering because we have held our standards to somebody else's relationships that we can't reach, and we're holding our standards of what people should be based upon people that we can't reach. And so we never create bonds and we never create moments instead of allowing moments to happen. Let genuine bonds build. If you create a genuine bond with someone on the fly by accident, just because you dropped your coat and you picked it up and y'all got into a conversation, don't be afraid to explore. Like I think we keep trying to create moments and create relationships instead of letting some things happen and enjoying what we have.
Like that. I like that. I actually like everything that you guys said. I would say, for starters, to keep the main thing the main thing. Um, First and foremost, if we're going to create lasting moments and genuine bonds and things of that nature, we got to be able to talk in the beginning so that we can understand what that genuine bond is going to be. If we're connecting based upon something superficial, then we're going to yield something more profoundly superficial. So if I'm only looking at the external and I never take the time to get to know the person, understand the person, so forth and so on. And I'm just talking male and female. I'm being honest. If you're only pursuing a person because of what they have and not necessarily learning that person, then that's more so superficial connections. So keep the main thing the main thing. What is the reason why this relationship exists? Once we understand the reason why this relationship exists, what is this relationship requiring of me? Right? When we ask those questions, now what I'm doing is putting the responsibility on me to be better for said relationship. I think too many times people think that they are the most important person in the relationship. That is always false. I don't care who you are. I'm sorry. If you never heard it before, you heard it just now, and I'm probably not your most favorite person. That's okay. But at the end of the day, you are not the most important person in a relationship. I don't care how many people in that relationship. If it's only two of y'all, neither one of y'all the most important person in the relationship. The other person is more important than you, right? Esteem them higher than yourself. So if you can get to the point to finding in your heart to do that, then you will never be the selfish person in the relationship. Also, be intentional about those moments, right? Go out there and create, and add intentionality to your relationship. If you are those people that like to go places, then be intentional about the places you go. Plan it, resource it, do it. Take plenty of pictures because that's what you're into, right? For me, I'm intentional about what I watch on TV. I'm just being honest because I don't really watch a lot of TV. So this week was all about those movies because I like them. They're entertainment. Those Christmas movies, I like them. They're entertaining. So be intentional. That was a joke. I'm sorry, you guys. Be intentional about what you do within the space of relationship. Have a desired outcome. There's nothing wrong with that. I think too many times when you go into doing a thing, you don't necessarily have a desired outcome. You're just going to fly by the seat of your pants and see what happens, right? So intentionality, again, you're not the most important person in a relationship. And at the end of the day, keep your business off of social media. I'm agreeing. I can't remember who said, I think it was Gaddy, that you're looking at social media and you're trying to recreate what you see on social media, not even realize that the people who are putting the stuff on social media ain't post the fight they had last night. In fact, that picture that they posted from 2 weeks ago is old now, it's stale. So again, keep your business off of social media. The less people you got in your business, the more your business can thrive and grow. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. Um, yes, sir.
I say this all the time. Get out of that movie that you have playing in your head that only stars you, but you play all the characters. You're the director, you're the boom guy, you're the sound boy, you're the best boy. But here's what I've learned: a lot of people aren't good at two things. One, casting, because y'all put people in roles that they ain't got no business in your life, and they want to take that into the next thing, like the next person that come into your life is supposed to solve your problems. You're not good at casting, and two, you don't edit the movie for a different outcome. So yeah, get out of that movie that you got playing in your head.
Good point. And people lie on resumes. No, I'm joking. Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and dive into our final thoughts. But before we do that, listen, wherever you are, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on the platform formerly known as Twitter, whether you're on Instagram, hit the like button, right? The algorithm likes it. We like it. We live in a world of likes. So again, hit the like button. What we're going to do, I didn't tell these guys. So we're going to dive into our bittersweet moment, our final thoughts. And I want to thank each and every one for the value that you've been putting in the chats. Trust me, I'm seeing you. I was seeing you and was watching the whole time. But as you can see, these brothers was just laying down some facts. So we're going to start with Chris. We're going to swing around on Uncle Junior. We're going to go over to Gadded. Then we're going to come back with Roland. Then I just close us out with our final thoughts. So, Brother Chris, you have the floor.
I'm going to keep my final thought short, sweet, and to the point. We are better together than we are apart. Meaningful moments and genuine bonds are a part of our nature, and we need to quit fighting it because we need each other. That's my final thought.
Creating meaningful moments and genuine bonds. I wrote a couple things down throughout the show, and I came up with my three things that I think that people could benefit from when they're trying to create meaningful moments and genuine bonds. One is, I just mentioned, it was investing in the time. Put the time into the relationship because it takes time to build trust and different things that you need in order to have those genuine bonds. You can create moments without having bonds, but when you get to the point to where you having meaningful moments and bonds, you're on a whole new level. Other than time, I also think that you have to be willing to be somewhat vulnerable. Everybody is not going to get everything right. You have to be willing to put yourself out there sometime. And then I think lastly is growth. The relationship in year one is going to be different 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years down the road. So understand that you are growing and that the other person is growing in the relationship too. So that's my final thought. invest in time, be willing to be vulnerable at some point or sometimes, and then continue to grow in the relationship.
I have a lot to say, and I'm gonna make it quick, right? Because this is how it sits with me when we talk about relationships. The Father created paradise, put man in this beautiful place, and begin to have relationship with that man. All right. He tried to, you see him being intentional about
And just see
creating
what
the,
happens, right? So intentionality, again.
was that me? I apologize. And he was intentional about creating a bloodline so that he can have a people to have a relationship with. He he moved things around in life to secure that relationship with his people. And in the end, if we've read the whole story, he's literally going to move heaven and earth so that he can eventually have that relationship with his people forever, from everlasting to everlasting. And I think when we can get a grasp of how much the Father works to commune and to fellowship with his people and have a relationship that means something with his people, that is the mindset we should have about the success of our meaningful relationships. We say it means something, we have to be willing to move heaven and earth to make this thing work, because our families are important, our relationships are important, our communities are important, right? And in doing that, the moments will come. So don't get too caught up on it don't feel good for it didn't feel good for the last week. Well, you keep going, it ain't gonna feel good for longer than that. It's just the nature of the game. So be willing to fight, to play the long game, and understand that we can make it to an expected end.
I think we need to stop looking at people for what they can do for us or what they can give to us, because you start to value that portion before you get to know the person. And then you have an expectation of something that you may never get a hold of. And then you're disappointed when you don't get it. Like for me, people will, people don't believe me, but I'm a naturally shy person. But what I do is I make fun, I make little quibs or whatever. I joke around so that I can make myself comfortable. And when I make myself comfortable, it makes others comfortable. And then I find ways to communicate that way. So if you get to know a person, you'll see, okay, why do they do what they do? Instead of, dang, they doing that again. There's a why in everybody. And when you can learn why a person does what they do, then you can get to know them, and then you can start to develop a relationship with understanding and not just with your judgments, because you know, okay, they do this because of this, or they came up like that. So you will get to know the why of a person and not just the what a person shows you.
I am going to keep mine rather short. I think what you've heard tonight is a lot of great conversation. There should have been some things should have been revealing to where we are in the space of relationships. Some things should have been just common sense. Some of the things we already know. So for me, like I said earlier, intentionality. Be intentional about this thing that we call relationship, right? Building genuine relationships, building like meaningful moments. You have to become intentional about that. Well, what does that really mean? That means that at the end of the day, first and foremost, understand who you are first. Like go on a journey of self-learning, self-development, growth, right? Make that a part of your everyday life. And then get to the point to where you're not necessarily dependent on someone to complete you. No person can complete you. I'm just being completely transparent. I'm sorry. That's the worst thing that you can ever go into somebody else's life thinking. Do not put the rope around somebody else and hold them accountable to your insecurities. Do the work on you first. I am going to struggle having genuine relationships, being less of an authentic person whenever I have things that I did not repair in my life, and then go forth and invite somebody in my life. And I'm not talking about male female interaction. I'm just talking relationships in general, right? It's very frustrating to be in a relationship with someone else when they struggle being able to hear you be honest with them. That's not a genuine relationship. That's a relationship that serves them and serves them only. So I think that's something that we have to be cognizant of. Listen, I want to thank each and everybody who has participated with us tonight. Thank this wonderful panel of men. I greatly appreciate them and I love them dearly. We appreciate you guys in the panel. You add so much value. All of the regulars, all of the new people, we welcome you again. Again, go to the website www.totalmindsetshift.com and join us. That way you can be a part of a meaningful so that way you can be part of our meaningful moments, and that we can have a genuine bond with you as well. One more thing, a couple more things really. Number one, like I said previously, if you weren't with us, there's not going to be a show next week. So this was our last show for 2023. So I want to take the time to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Spend time with your family. Enjoy yourselves. Create those meaningful moments now while the opportunity is before you. Take the time to sit down, get off your phone, take the time to sit down and talk. Stop doing this all the time. Talk to the people, find out what's going on in their life. Talk to those nieces and nephews and cousins and those in-laws and those outlaws. Talk to them. Take the time to talk to them so you can understand what's going on in their life. Maybe you can add value in their life for those 2-3 days that you guys are together. Last but not least, tomorrow is that man's birthday. So with that being said, everybody give son of Timothy over there a shout out. Tell that young man happy birthday. Send it to him on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you follow him at, or send him the chat before we get out of here. But again, that young man's birthday is tomorrow. Go ahead, bro. You got something?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Coach. And I know that this is the last show for 2023. So I guess that means we got to talk about this man too, because next Saturday is his birthday. So hey, I got to share the love, Coach. I got to share the love.
I noticed. I noticed. So fine. Yes, my birthday is next Saturday. That's why we ain't having no show next week. Now I'm joking.
How old are y'all going to be?
I would be 49 plus 1.
Yeah.
Hey, I like it.
Man, say it with your chest, man.
Yeah, I'll be 50 next week. That young man will be 38 tomorrow. So yes, there it is.
And 3 of us got
me
December birthdays.
38? That's it? Wow.
I look that old, man. God.
That's either why you look old
No,
or why,
you speak and you think that old. You understand what I'm saying? I thought that you were older than that.
Hey,
Just
that was
by
pretty
your
good,
demeanor.
bro. That was pretty good, bro. You quick on your feet.
Hey, when he, I was looking at my hairline like, dang.
Yeah, man. So listen, what was it? All 3 of us. December, right? Okay. Listen, again, we appreciate you guys, man. I can't stress that enough. I appreciate the panel and all the value that they add, not just this panel, but my Saturday morning panel as well. So I want to make sure that they understand that as well. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate the value you guys are adding on the message boards and things of that nature, the continual conversation and growth that we're doing in the community. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys, because you guys are awesome. And I just don't think that you realize how much value that you're adding in the midst of what you're doing. There's somebody someplace that's sitting down and they're just too shy to say something. They're just too shy to speak. But they're watching, they're listening, they're absorbing everything that's said, everything that's actually written in the chats, everything that's written on the message board. They're just soaking it in because it's helping them. And I think that's the thing that we need to understand. So again, don't get weary in doing good. So I just want to kind of put that out. Listen, I think that's what I'm gonna do on TikTok next Sunday. I think my time is next Sunday. we're going to talk about what we're going to do for 2024. And so, yeah, that's it. I got some changes coming in 2024. So I just want to make sure I say that. Listen, man, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a fantastic weekend. I think that young man goes live on Sunday on his TikTok. So we'll all be there. So again, Uncle Junior, I'm telling you right now, if you can't get away, bro, you're invited. Chris, if you can get away, bro, if you get out the gym, you're invited. Sunday morning,
Time
11:30. Sunday morning,
11:30.
11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Listen, we value you. We appreciate you. You guys have an awesome rest of your evening and a fantastic weekend. Be a blessing to somebody other than yourself.